warm welcome to Moneycontrol.com. What a morning it has been. It was, or it is, in fact, a very tightrope walk right now, a very close contest playing out in Karnataka. But from the early leads that we are getting, it looks like Congress might end up coming up with a majority. Let's see, it's too early to call. At the last count, the numbers were looking at 117 in early trends for Congress, BJP 73, JDS 30 and others 6. Could JDS turn out to be the kingmaker? Could the Congress party emerge as the single largest party? Of course, only we'll know in a few hours. But joining me up front on the show is Professor Rajiv Gowda. We have with me my colleague DP Satish and Haripriya, who's joining us from the Congress headquarters. Let me go across to Professor Rajiv Gowda first. Professor Gowda, congratulations. I believe celebrations have already begun at the Congress office in Bengaluru. What are you attributing these numbers to? And are you confident that you will emerge as the single largest party?
So I'm confident that we will emerge with a majority and with a substantial, secure majority at that. But I'm going to wait for the numbers to, come out and for the results to be known before jumping and celebrating or anything like that. However, if you're asking what helped make this result happen, it's a combination of both a positive vote for the Congress as well as a negative vote against the BJP's misrule. In terms of the BJP's misrule, you saw the government earning a reputation as demanding 40% commission for any project. You had a kind of a input from various communities who felt that the BJP was trying to fool them on the reservation issues by trying to make promises which were not actually taken up by the central government. So there have been many factors which are negative for the BJP. For the Congress, from the moment when Rahul Gandhi marched through Karnataka during the Yatra, Bharat Jodo Yatra, the party has been very energized.
Right.
We've been working together, and our 5 guarantees, which addressed some of the pain points of the people. For example, inflation,
right.
It could be unemployment. These are really big issues in Karnataka. And we have reached out and said, we care, we empathize, and we will find a solution. So that positive vote is also really emerging in our favor.
Sure. So, Professor Gowda, if I'd like to come in here on the 5 guarantees that the Congress has offered and has promised. We are talking about cash transfers. We are talking about gas cylinders. We are talking about 200 units of free power, 10 kilograms of food grain. It almost seems like a manifesto for any other state, and considering Karnataka's economy is the 3rd largest economy in the country, the state actually experienced 68% growth in the past 5 years. One would have hoped for a slightly more imaginative manifesto. I want to ask you, we had Mr. Kharge say that in the first cabinet meeting on the first day of government formation, a lot of these promises will be implemented. Fiscally speaking, what's the kind of burden that will come on the Karnataka state to implement all of this? Have you done any calculations on that?
We've done calculations, and the amount that totally comes to is less than, I think, 50,000 crores. It's eminently doable in a state like Karnataka, which is one of the fastest growing economies in the country. And we are also, take some of these measures like free bus travel for women. Okay, this just is the most convenient way of getting more people onto public transport, but also empowering women so that they don't feel the burden of having to pay extra for either study or work. We have the 2,000 rupees per woman head of household. That also helps alleviate the burden of inflation and price rises they're facing. 200 units of electricity, that is eminently doable. We've already made, during our term, Karnataka a power surplus state, and we are expecting to do even more on that front, so it will not be much of a burden for us. So I don't think that you have to be particularly concerned about, about the fiscal math. We've got that covered.
So, Professor Gowda, sure. No, I want you to wear your economist.
Let me just finish.
Yes.
This is actually
Yes.
a template that can be, like you pointed out, taken to other parts of the country. And, and in some ways, you might say that this draws inspiration from the Nyai program, the minimum income guarantee program that we had offered in the 2019 manifesto. Remember, a lot of us are growing and doing well, but behind. If you look behind, you'll see that many people are falling behind, and we need to make sure that we put in place a social safety net and demonstrate that we care and we give them the comfort so that they can also start thinking about investing in their future rather than worrying about basic survival. That's the philosophy behind this.
That sounds very well intentioned, Professor Gaura. But I also want to point out that the gross fiscal deficit of Karnataka has increased by 98% in FY23. So when we do talk about guarantees, we do talk about giving support to those at the bottom of the pyramid. I want to ask you, what is the plan of the Congress party to get the state on a very high growth trajectory, to bring investments into the state which have been lost to your neighboring state Tamil Nadu because of ease of doing business, because of high land prices, high wages? Does the Congress have a plan on that?
See, if you look historically, whether it's under Siddaramaya's government 2013 to 18, or whether under S.N. Krishna's government earlier, Congress has been the party that has brought in tremendous, foreign direct investment and even internal investment into Karnataka. We've laid the foundation and supported the growth of the IT, BT, and numerous other sectors, aerospace, numerous sectors. Generally, the industry has a lot of confidence that the Congress will put in place facilitative measures and that they won't have to run away because the BJP would have demanded 40% commission. And that is something that we certainly won't do. We care for turning around the employment figures. We care for ensuring that growth picks up. And we certainly will facilitate and do whatever it takes to support more and more significant investment and job creation across Karnataka, not just in Bengaluru.
Okay, let me bring in my colleague DP Satish here. DP has been tracking Karnataka state for decades and one of India's foremost authorities on the politics and the economics of the South. DP, what's your sense? You've heard Professor Gaura talk about his plans, Congress's plans for the state, and of course the minimum guarantees that the Congress party is offering. Can the state go bankrupt trying to deliver these guarantees?
I don't think so, because Professor Gowda is not just a politician, he is also an economist. And Professor Gowda hails from an important political family of Karnataka. His father, his uncle, they were all very big Congress leaders in the state. And Professor Gowda is also an economist and entrepreneur. I am sure he has data with him. And I am sure he knows the economics much better than me. So I shouldn't be commenting on those things. But Congress ran a brilliant campaign this time. And Congress's 5 guarantee scheme worked quite well for the party, because if you look at the results, the poor and lower middle class people across caste and religion seem to have voted for the Congress because of their 5 guarantee schemes. And it has clicked. And Congress ran a very positive campaign this time. Congress had localized the election. They didn't talk any national issue. They didn't talk about national issues. BJP tried its best to make it a Modi versus Congress election in Karnataka, but it didn't happen because Congress stuck to its original plan and they had localized the election. Secondly, local leaders led the campaign. Face of the Congress in Karnataka were Siddaramaya and D.K. Shivakumar across the state, not Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi. They played a supplementary role. They also campaigned, but they played a supplementary role, but they didn't lead the party. But in BJP, Prime Minister Modi was the face of the party because local leadership of the BJP was weak and they had no CM face here.
Right,
Congress
right, DP.
ran an effective campaign.
Thanks.
And it was a corporate style.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Thanks for that. Let me go across to my colleague Haripriya, who is at the Congress headquarters. Haripriya, what are you picking up? I believe celebrations are already underway, and from what we have heard, Congress workers have been preparing for celebrating today since last evening.
like you mentioned, the celebrations have already been on. There's been sloganeering. They've been cheering Rahul Gandhi. They've been cheering KPCC President DK Shivkumar as well. The crackers have also come in, and Congress workers here are confident of a majority. Currently, even trends put them above the halfway mark of 112, but they say that their ideal would be 130 seats. Currently, there are around 117 odd, and the celebrations are a little subdued because they wanted to get above the 130 mark. But right now, like you can see behind me, celebrations are on in full swing. There's colors, there's been sloganeering, there's been cheering, all of it. And the one person here that they've all been cheering for is Rahul Gandhi. But when you ask party workers here about who the CM face could probably be, they leave it up to the High Command to decide that. They do not take any sides, whether it be Siddaramaiah or DK Shivkumar.
All right, thanks Haripriya for that. Let me go across now to Mr. Gopal Krishna Agarwal, national spokesperson of the BJP. Mr. Agarwal, how are you reading into the trends that we see at the moment?
So we have to take 2-3 important factors into consideration. At present, only 60% counting is still to be done. Second thing is almost 45 seats. The margin is less than 1,000 votes. So that these two factors are very important, and even a slight change in the percentage of vote brings a big change in the Karnataka election. Last time also, many of the seats were won by less than 1,000 margin. So there is one factor. These two factors have to be considered. Second thing I would like to say about what Mr. Rajiv Gowda said is about the freebies culture that the Congress is trying to promote, whether it is of the OPS or farmers loan waiver. They have failed to fulfill their promises, whether in Rajasthan, Himachal, or even earlier in the Madhya Pradesh. They have been giving these promises, and we have seen how the AAP party, which is also a leader in their freebies promises, false promises, have not been able to fulfill them in Punjab. So we know that Karnataka is a good state. It's an economically very strong parameters are driving its economy. And it has the potential to even drive the Indian economy, catalyze Indian economy, whether it is in IT and other sectors or startup ecosystem, where a lot of support of the Karnataka government people has been received from the startup ecosystem or the tax concession where our government has given. So my thought on this is that the people of Karnataka know the importance of double engine Sarkar. Our main focus was on double engine Sarkar, where the state governments cooperate with the center to implement its efficient schemes through good governance. And I'll just give you 1-2 figures. That if Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, the penetration of that scheme in Karnataka is 94%. The same where the state governments are not cooperating, the penetration is in Kerala is 56%. And another example is about Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. The houses built under the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi in Karnataka is 67%. But the same is so poor in West Bengal that only 36% have been benefited out of it. So what I tell you, even on the infrastructure side for the Karnataka, several projects out of 38,000 crore project in addition to what funds is being devolved to the state under the 15th Finance Commission, additional infrastructure investment has come from the central government on the Gati Shakti project. So our focus of Bharatiya Janata Party under the Prime Minister Modi ji has been a strong economy, and Karnataka is a strong state to catalyze not even its own growth but the center's growth. So I think the people of Karnataka understand this, and we have been communicating them on this. So you have to compare what is the false promise, unfulfilled promise, and divisive politics that the Congress is playing and what BJP governments are doing. So these are the factors we have to consider. Still 60% voting is to be done.
Sure, Mr. Agarwal. Let me bring in let me bring in Mr. Devasham here, a former IAS officer and also a very, very active citizen of Bengaluru. Mr. Devasham, you've worked with several governments, and Bengaluru as a city has been a huge. I mean, it's gotten a lot of attention, a lot of focus in all the manifestos, and rightly so. It is the Silicon Valley of India. The kind of tax that the city generates is enormous. It's beaten Delhi. So when you look at the manifestos and promises, Mr. Devasham, of all the political parties, what is it that you see in them for the city of Bengaluru, and the voting trends that we have seen at the moment? It is looking like it is a sweep for the Congress in the city of Bengaluru. Why is that?
No, it's not only Bengaluru. Bengaluru is only about your seats. It's a entire state of Karnataka. Before answering your question, I would like to address a couple of other points. See, I am very closely observing and watching. See, Congress, particularly and others, did take 5 guarantees. They are welfare guarantees. I got that data. Because when Bangalore, it is not impacting that. Why it may not impact like the rural side, but I was more impressed by the non-financial guarantees and the manifesto that was brought in. It's very daring and very bold. And I have a feeling that Karnataka people have rewarded the Congress for that. Number one was that the politics was going towards a communal era. It was a very dangerous trend, which would have been very detrimental to the very development of Karnataka. Karnataka, compared to the other states like Tamil Nadu that I belong to, you see, is compared to development. I think has brought Karnataka to the forefront. Today, they are the leaders today. So this communal politics creeping into Karnataka would have severely damaged the growth potential of Karnataka in general and Bengaluru in particular. And I think the Karnataka voters have realized it, and they are made a voicing, because these 3 promised, they said they will scrap the anti-conversion law, very bold. Then they said they will remove these, they will ban the Bajrang Dal, communal politics. So I think that's the point I want to make first. Coming secondly to the other, the financial, what do you call it, this manifesto, there are 2 aspects you must look at. Whereas the financial, essential and non-essential. See, I belong to Tamil Nadu, as I said. I was very, very closely involved in the 2011 and 2016 election in Tamil Nadu. And Tamil Nadu was a leader in freebies. Freebies had a racket in Tamil Nadu. Particularly, Madam Jayalalitha was there and other people were there. And we used to fight against it. We moved the election commission, we moved the Supreme Court, got a favorable order. In fact, strictures were passed in 2016 for the Tamil IDMK party promising the sky. What they did was, they moved away from the essentials. They started giving gadgets, TV, cooking, pressure cooker, and all kind of gadgets, which are totally non-essential. And I find the 5 guarantees given by the guarantee here are essentials, as Professor Gowda said. You see this
right.
Free buses. I've been transport commissioner. I know I have transport corporations. See, it has got tremendous cascading effect. Tremendous cascading effect. If it is implemented properly, it will substantially improve the mobility of women and make them partners in work. As you know, work participation of women is dismally low in India. And this can substantially improve that. Similarly, the other guarantees that has been given. So what the point I was trying to make is, the Congress had read the mood of the people. They have reacted, and as of now, and coming to the point made by Mr. Agarwal, I have conducted elections, closely conducted elections. If what he says is right, there are about 50, 60 sort of constituencies where still there's a margin of 1,000 votes are still there. A law of averages. Congress is around 120 now, and BJP is around 70, 72 or something like that. Law of averages say that Congress should cross 130. It is not the other way around. That is how the law functions,
Okay.
unless there is mischief.
Sure. Sure, Mr.
Yeah.
Devasham. Thank you. Hang in there. I'm going to bring in my colleague Siddharth Upasani here. Siddharth has written and reported and studied the state of Karnataka very extensively to give us a sense of, you've heard, Siddharth, you heard Professor Rajiv Gowda, you've heard Mr. Gopal Krishna Agarwal. I want you to tell our viewers about when you look at the economy of Karnataka, what is working for the state of Karnataka and what does the new government have to do to ensure that the state continues to grow?
All right. Thanks, Shweta. If you look at Karnataka, there's no doubt that it's a robust economy. Over the last 10 years, it's grown faster than the all India average in all but 1 year. So, and over those 10 years, we have had governments from all three political parties. So, in some sense, you can say that the state can function irrespective of the government which is there at the state. FY23, India's GDP is expected to grow by 7%. 7.9%. You look at inflation, the latest inflation number which came out yesterday, the CPI inflation, all India inflation was 4.7, Karnataka was lower at 4.41%. So the Karnataka economy is working. What really the people of Karnataka seem to, we heard that in our Moneycontrol policy summit in Bengaluru last week, it's to make areas of Karnataka, like Bengaluru, for instance, livable. We've heard talk of, all these promises which are being made. But finally, it's simple things like moving from one part of the city to another, one part of the state to another, public transport. The poor infrastructure has meant that we've seen a massive influx of private vehicles. I was in Karnataka for the G20 Finance Ministers Central Bank Governors meeting in February. And we were lucky that the meeting was taking place right close to the airport. Otherwise, it would have been a 3-hour journey to just go to the venue. So what really Karnataka seems to want is things at the margin, which can really improve the life of the common person.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Siddharth, for that. We have now with us Aishwarya Mahadev joining us from the Congress Party. Aishwarya, or should I be congratulating you right now, or do you want me to hold on to the congratulations?
You can congratulate me, but I'd wait to see a bigger number, a bigger majority, and then we can talk. But I will say very cautiously that nothing is over till the fat lady sings, and we will wait and see what the final numbers are. But we're hopeful. It looks very, very good. We've given a tough fight, but I have to concede that there are 30-odd seats that come down to very, very narrow margins, which is what we're a little bit worried about. But I think we will pull through. If you're looking at the phenomenal performance in regions that we haven't always done very well in, if you're looking at the incumbent ministers that are getting a very tough fight, I think the Congress has put on a very brave face. And I think I very convincingly told you recently that we'll take this home. And I think that's what's happening, Shweta, to be honest.
Right. So, Aishwarya, if you remember when we spoke last week, you spoke about the women voters, what an important role they are going to be playing in this election. And we spoke about the prices of gas cylinders. We just heard Siddharth, we spoke about the state of economy in Karnataka. So one wonders that in a state that has been growing at a very robust pace, it has seen inflation lower than the national average. It has attracted a lot of FDI coming into the state. So what is it that really the voters of Karnataka are voting for? Is this a gas cylinder election, Aishwarya?
Shweta, these elections, aggregate figures may look very good for Karnataka, but growth and development are two completely different things. And in Karnataka, even though we do grow at a better rate, even though we do happen to be very affluent compared to a lot of other states, the common man's problem here are just as bad as anywhere else. Price rise, inflation, lack of infrastructure, because I just heard the person speaking previously about the infrastructure crumbling in the city. I think the entire election, irrespective of how they tried to change the narrative, was run on the issues of people. And that is what has resonated with the masses, Shweta. And I think that is what that people voted for. It was not about divisive ideas of caste or creed or faith. It was rather ideas of who's offering you a better alternative for tomorrow and who's going to give you clean, transparent, and accountable governance. And I think that way, the common man, you saw these disparaging remarks about how the poorest of the poor or the least educated are voted for the Congress. But you cannot take away from the fact that they form a major chunk of what is Karnataka's populace that need that help. And I think the Congress has resonated, and we've had the positive, we're looking at the positive results on the ground today, Shweta.
Right. We also know that since 1989, no incumbent government has been voted back to power. So there is a strong anti-incumbency factor also that is working against the BJP. I want to bring in Mr. Devashyam here. Mr. Devashyam, if you look at the Congress manifesto, and I'm going to focus on that, it's taken a very cautious line on reinstating the old pension scheme, which is something that they have not done in other states. All the Congress-run states have promised to go back to OPS, but in Karnataka, they have not committed to going back or reinstating the OPS. They're silent on the hijab ban, and they have promised to increase reservations for scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs, Lingayat, and the Vokaliga communities. Also, restoration of the 4% quota for Muslims, plus the 5 guarantees. I want you to zoom out a little bit and tell us, what is it about the state that reservation politics still connect with the state that is growing at a very robust pace? So somewhere there seems to be a disconnect, and taking forward Aishwarya's argument that while there is high growth, there is still pain at the bottom of the pyramid somewhere.
Absolutely right. That is what is happening not only in Karnataka, throughout the country. Particularly, I am a student of economics. I have been closely observing the economic scenario. The trend started, unfortunately, when the Congress government was in the center in the early 90s, when this LDG policies, the reform to economy brought in. But it's now accentuated now in the last 7-8 years. Things have become very bad. The inequities have grown exponentially. See, today, I always been talking that 60% of India is outside the mainstream economy. We are a population of 104 crores, and 60% means more than 100 crores. Same ratio will apply to Karnataka also. So when we are talking about the economic policy, one is development policy, one is welfare policy. Now, what Congress has announced in this election guarantees is a welfare means. But this should be not the end. Welfare should be only temporary. Actually, it should be development, inclusive development, where everybody's got a place in the shop, so they stand on their own feet, earn their own income, take care of their family, and live with dignity. Most important factor for a human being is dignity. Without dignity, there's no human being as far as I am concerned. And if you continue to be on the dole, if you continue to be on welfare, the dignity is lost. You're compromising the dignity of your belly, which is not right at all in your state. See, when the Constitution was set in, Constitution, our founding fathers brought in Part 4 of the Constitution to make India a welfare state, not to be on doors. Their idea is it must be inclusive, everyone has equal opportunities, there should be no concentration of wealth, there should be distribution of wealth. So that is the concept. But unfortunately, because of the extreme inequity that has taken place, this welfare is coming. So they had to announce welfare. For me, welfare should be only a temporary means. Basically, there will be equal development policy to be pursued by the new government.
Right.
And I hope...
Right, Mr. Devashyam.
One minute. I've been closely following Rahul Gandhi from the statement that he has been making then and now. I feel Congress move towards that goal.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Mr. Devashyam, for joining us from Bengaluru. Let me go across to Aishwarya again. Aishwarya, so what are going to be the key priorities for the Congress Party if it does form the government? We heard Mr. Kharge say that the first cabinet meeting which the new government will hold will implement and act on a lot of the manifesto promises. Can you take us through some of the key priorities of the Congress Party?
Shweta, the Congress Party has been very clear when it says that in the first cabinet meeting that we're going to implement every one of the guarantees that we have promised the people, because we believe this is the first step in the path to recovery for the people of my state. Whether it is 200 free units of electricity, whether it's to 2,000 rupees for the women of the household, free bus transportation, 10 kilos of Annabhagya, like the PDS rice that we used to give the poorest of the poor, the BPL families and so on, and Yuva Nidhi. We believe that this is the first thing that we're going to look at. And this is the first promise that we made, that in the first cabinet meeting, this is what is going to happen. If you look at our manifesto, it covers everything. It is infrastructure, whether it is city, whether it is development. So our manifesto has over 600 odd promises that I think will slowly take shape. But the primary guarantees is what we're first going to put into action. And that we're very clear about, Shweta.
Sure. Let me bring in Siddharth here. Siddharth, you heard Aishwarya talk about how the first cabinet meeting will see if the Congress is voted to power. We'll see a lot of the guarantees being implemented. Now, if you look at the gross fiscal deficit of Karnataka, it has increased by 98% to 61,564 crores in FY23 from 31,101 crore in FY18. So that's a phenomenal jump. And we heard Professor Gowda talk about the rough calculation that they have done, that this is going to cost the state all the 200 units of free power, the 2,000 rupees to each woman head of the family. Collectively, all the guarantees will cost about 50,000 crores to the state exchequer. I want you to tell us, can the state afford these guarantees?
If you look at the fiscal deficit as a percentage of the state's GDP in 2021-22, it was a pretty fair 2.8%. It's not as high as some other states, but also not as low as some others. So Karnataka's finances as of now, or at least in 2021-22, were in a pretty decent situation. In fact, last year the Reserve Bank of India staff put out a study of state finances in which they said that they expect, taken together all states of India, their debt to GDP ratio to improve in the next 3-4 years primarily because of 4-5 states, because of their stellar fiscal performance, and these are their words. One of these 5 states was Karnataka. Karnataka, its primary deficit, which is the fiscal deficit minus interest payments, is 1.3%, and it needs to cut that down to 1% for its debt to become stable. So Karnataka can perhaps afford this right now, but the problem is what happens to the fiscal deficit, the primary deficit, going forward because of these announcements. I mean, the Congress, as you said, Professor Gowda said 50,000 crores is the cost of this. We don't know what the BJP's announcements will cost. We don't know what the JDS's performance announcements will cost. Could that tip Karnataka's balance, the fiscal balance, into a negative? It's difficult to say. But perhaps, like Professor Gowda has given us a number, it perhaps makes sense for all political parties when they're making their pre-election announcements, to give some sort of a number of how much these measures, announcement, promises will cost. Maybe they should be part of the manifestos. Who knows? I mean,
absolutely, I agree. I think they should be part of the manifestos. Whatever the government, whatever the parties are promising, it's important that the exchequer knows what this is going to cost the exchequer finally, right? Siddharth, Siddharth, my colleague, pointed out that Karnataka's growth rate has been very, very robust, and the state can actually afford to pay out or to bankroll a lot of the initiatives that you've announced in the manifesto. But I want to ask you, so when you look at the state of Karnataka's economy, it does seem like development has taken place. You've had the expressway from Bengaluru to Mysore. That's been great. You have the Vande Bharat train that's coming in. So there has been development, and Revati Ashok is also joining us. Thank you, Revati, for joining us from Bangalore. One wonders that development development has taken place. So what is it that the average Karnataka voter is voting for right now? Let me ask Aishwarya you, and then I'll get in Revati as well, because Bengaluru has seen a sweep for the Congress party, and I want to get Revati's point in on what is it that Bengaluru is hoping to build on with this verdict.
Shweta, an expressway, which by the way is faulty, was inaugurated beforehand and was initiated under the Congress government that the BJP takes full credit for, is hardly the cornerstone of telling me that a government has performed. I think social welfare becomes one of the biggest priorities. And if you look at infrastructure as a whole, yes, you have a metro station, yes, you have a Vande Bharat, yes, you may have a highway. But the fact of the matter remains that social infrastructure and infrastructure as a whole across the state has crumbled beyond measure, and even the tiniest floods or rains turns a lot of Bangalore into Venice, and not to anybody's joy at that case. And the people of Karnataka, very simply, everybody, the BJP tried to push it aside, saying there is no 40% commission government and whatnot. But I live and work in rural Karnataka, where everything from as small as getting a copy of your own Hakkupatra or RTC has a certain amount that you pay. It is so institutionalized, and it gets worse as it goes up. And this became the biggest systemic problem that we saw, that people who generally, and in Karnataka, they say, okay, chalta hai, if there's an attitude, the people for the first time saw a massive uproar, because the manner in which this was happening was extremely, extremely troubling and problematic. That was one. And the second is, people at the end of the day hope for a better tomorrow. You have the incumbent government telling you, no, give us another chance, we'll do better, when they didn't perform here. Well, the Congress very strictly ran on that one narrative of, we are promising you a better tomorrow, we have performed previously. So I think people made that concerted effort, and no amount of road shows of the Prime Minister, who tried to salvage a sinking ship, could even help in this case.
All right, let me go across to Revati. Revati, as a Bangalorean, how are you? What are your expectations from the new government that the state will be getting?
Well, I hope one thing is very clear from the verdict of the elections, that it looks like different locations. Central Karnataka, Hyderabad Karnataka, closer to Mumbai Karnataka, all of them are voting differently. And therefore, and Bangalore itself is voting differently. So I think the issues, it's very clear that the voters are voting based on certain local issues they like or do not like. It's a positive vote or a negative vote. So I think a one-size-fits-all for the entire city will not be really good. I think for the entire state, I think they have to look at the specific issues in each region and address each of the issues. Now, coming to Bangalore, the issue of employment may not be a very big issue, because Bangalore is already an economic magnet, and a lot of jobs are created, and that's why a lot of migrant labor from within the state, other parts of the state and outside the state, people come here for jobs. So while jobs are not the central issue there, the infrastructure to support this economic activity is definitely a key issue. And I've spoken on this before as well, and at the cost of repeating myself, I would say that big priority has to be to provide the right infrastructure. And for a lot of migrant labor, Bangalore gets supported by a lot of migrant labor that comes from all over the country. They must have proper housing facilities. We never had this a lot of slums, but the number of slums are increasing. And therefore, I think focus on some of these issues of what powers Bangalore and who are the people who make Bangalore tick. So infrastructure is one, providing mobility, the environment is a very big issue, and therefore electric mobility is also a very key issue. Ensuring that we protect the environment, we protect the lakes. These are all issues that people in Bangalore care about. So I think it is extremely important to address the big infrastructural issues for Bangalore.
Right, Revati, when we look at the key infrastructure issues of Bangalore, mobility is a very, very crucial issue. In our Policy Next event that we held in Karnataka, in Bangalore last week, this detail came out that some 600 buses have been lying idle, and a lot of unpaid bills by the state government when it comes to access to basic utilities. So what is it that you see in the manifestos, Revati, that gives you hope that Bengaluru will be able to transform itself or actually level up itself to the stature that it has gotten in not only in India but across the world?
Different people are making various commitments. I think if you look at the manifestos, the previous manifestos that all the governments had given, and the current manifesto, a lot of them are also repeats. I'm not talking about the welfare programs that Congress is talking about, but a lot of the infrastructure programs, it is not that people are not aware of it and people don't agree to it. They agree to it, but it never happens. So I think political parties must realize that, they have to keep their manifesto promises. It is not just about what the manifesto is promising, but whether whatever is being promised in the manifesto, are they able to produce a report card year on year to say where are they in terms of progress? And at the end of 5 years, can they honestly say that they have achieved what they are supposed to achieve? Of course, to give benefit to Congress, they had, when they were briefly in power for a year, they had said that they would introduce 5,000 buses. And unfortunately, that never happened. It is Congress, JDS combined. But that never happened. We all know what happened to the government. But I think these are issues that people have to focus on, because you cannot resolve Bangalore's problems by creating only long-term projects. For example, BJP did, Congress might have started it, but BJP pushed forth the suburban rail infrastructure announcement, and they made big announcement of several thousand crores. But unfortunately, after 2 years, not even 10% of the project has moved forward. So I think, making just big announcement is not sufficient. You need to have beyond announcements, beyond the headlines. You need to see work on the ground. For example, a lot of good smart city work. The city has been focusing on footpaths. We have been saying we need walkable footpaths. Literally, the whole of the city is dug up. And last 5 years, we have been struggling for footpaths. And these footpaths have not, we focus on Church Street, we focus on around Vidhan Sauda, but beyond that, work continues for 2 to 3 years. Is it so difficult to build, footpaths? And does it take 3 years? Why should the city be dug up for 3 years? Take one area, finish it off, and move on to the next.
Sure. So I do sense a degree of frustration, because clearly, a lot of the national issues that maybe the BJP raised during the electioneering and campaigning, but execution maybe on ground is something that is a challenge. And Aishwarya, I think that's a challenge that the Congress party will also have to deal with. You heard Revati talk about the 5,000 buses that were promised by the Congress party, but that did not happen. Is mobility, decongesting Bangalore, is that high on the priority, or is the Congress going to look at social justice first and then these urban issues?
I don't think it's a weightage on priorities. I think each and every promise that we've made is extremely important. And if you talk about mobility, the fact that we're offering free transportation, I think will also add to the system. There'll be upgradation of fleets. When you talk about Manifesto, Shweta, I think in 2013, we had 165 promises that we made, out of which 158 were fulfilled, while the BJP in its manifesto had close to 600 odd promises, out of which not even 10% were completed. So I think when it comes to intent, when it comes to implementation, there is a lot of will on the side of the Congress when it comes to making sure it happens. Urban mobility, urban infrastructure, access to clean water, healthcare, sanitation, even for a city like Bangalore, still remains an issue. And I think with our manifesto, we've spoken about how we're going to have better administration and trying to unify the various bodies within Bangalore. And I think this should really help. For us, it is a term for fixing a lot of things that went wrong in the past couple of years. A decisive mandate always allows parties to fulfill the aspirations of people far better without the compunctions or the underpinnings of coalition partners. So I think this is going to be us scripting history, but also ushering in a new era for Bangalore, because every time the Congress has had a decisive victory, we've been able Congress has had a decisive victory. We've been able to put Karnataka further. We've been able to increase progress and prosperity, Shweta. So I'm very, very positive, and I'm looking forward to what we see next.
Right, Aishwarya. My colleague Chandra is joining us now. Chandra was, she is the editor for tech and startups with Moneycontrol. And last week, Chandra moderated a discussion with a lot of startup founders on what their hopes and expectations are for the city of Bengaluru. Chandra, do you think the founders are feeling happy today? And is the Congress offering a better alternative in terms of the upgradation of the city? What are the key things that you had picked up during that conversation with founders?
Right, Shweta, you were in the room as well, and they didn't want anything apart from good infrastructure, particularly in the city of Bengaluru. There is a sense that while Bengaluru contributes a lot to Karnataka's tax kitty, it always is shortchanged when it comes to basic infrastructure, local transport, public transport, the state of roads in technology hubs like Hechisar, Bellandur, Koramangala, etc. There is a flyover that's been in construction for a decade, which with no sign of completion. So, very basic infrastructure issues that they want solutions on. They are not asking for any, special tax breaks or funds. They want basic infrastructure that will improve the quality of life for Bengaluru. So hopefully, Congress, which, clearly has an edge now, hopefully they will prioritize Bengaluru when it comes to infrastructure. I think the other thing is people were hoping that, this doesn't end up in a hung assembly, which will, lead to a lot of uncertainty in the coming weeks, the resort politics and so on. So I think what people mostly wanted was a clear mandate so that we have a stable, solid government for the next 5 years. So hopefully we should see that happen. Let's see how the rest of the day pans out.
Right. But we know that Karnataka is notorious about not re-electing governments, and that's what it's looking like, not re-electing the incumbent governments.
The last 3 decades at least. So many people said that, they tend to vote differently for state and center. In fact, I think that's something that Mr. Sandeep Shastri mentioned at our summit as well last week, that one must not extrapolate this because they have a history of voting out the incumbent government. So I guess that's played out as well for Karnataka.
All right, let's go across to Haripriya, who has been camping at the Congress office in Bengaluru. Haripriya, can you give us a mood check?
I think the chanting and the sloganeering has been getting more and more energetic and louder as Congress right now seems pretty certain of a victory. At least they're expecting about 118 seats, probably not maybe in the 125 to 130 range. They're pretty confident of the 117 to 118 seat range. And, as you can hear, I can see and hear behind me, the chanting for especially Rahul Gandhi's name has been growing stronger and stronger. We've also been seeing more and more crackers come in as these parties here, members here prep for a celebration that they're expecting. The only bit of trepidation here is that given the margin in some seats is quite low, they're worried if it'll switch at some point, probably around 2 or 3 o'clock, and which is when they will get a definite distinct that they will get a majority government. Like we also know that, see, out of the last 5 elections that Karnataka has had, it threw up a fractured mandate in 3 of them. So there is concern that it'll go the same way it did last election. But for now, Congress members here seem fairly confident that they will make it and will emerge as the single largest party and will get a majority that is over 113 seats.
Right, Haripriya, but have you been speaking to the party workers there? Any leaders over there? You know, because could the JDS emerge as a kingmaker? Is there? So we heard Aishwarya Mahadev a little while ago, and while there is a sense of victory, there is a sense of celebration, but no one is ready to call it out yet. And yes, it's important that we do not have a fractured mandate for the state's polity and economy. Anything that you picked up in your conversations with party workers and party leaders at the Congress headquarters?
From the party workers and leaders that we spoke to here, everyone here has so far ruled out any sort of alliance with the JDS. Like even for example, last election, it was a post-poll alliance. Obviously, that government did not get to see a full term, so they've said that they will not look for an alliance with the JDS. That's the one clear message that we're getting, that is not an option on their hands right now. We don't know if that will change, but Congress members have said that, you know, even if nothing else, if they get to 105 to 110 seats, they will be able to get over the halfway mark of 112 and get to 113 and be able to form the government. If it's below that, then that option would not be there. But for now, they have all ruled out the possibility of having an alliance with the JDS. Although the JDS has said that whoever will fulfill their conditions, they will support them. They haven't said anything so far. Kumaraswamy has come back from Singapore and is currently waiting. So the BJP has said that they might be slightly open to it, despite the fact, you know, incumbency is working against them. So if say the BJP gets above, say, 90 seats, then there is some possibility that we'll see a fractured mandate. But right now, Congress has completely ruled out anyone here, party workers and leaders have ruled out any sort of alliance with the JDS.
All right, thanks Haripriya for that. Chandra, let me come to you. You know, there is something that's got to be said about how Bangalore has grown phenomenally in the last few decades. It is the Silicon Valley. It is a city. This one little city has produced so many startups that have put India on the world map. Of course, it started with Infosys, and it's a legacy that's been taken forward. But unemployment continues to emerge as a concern, unemployment and inflation. So, you know, for someone sitting in Delhi, when you look at the state of Karnataka, you think of Bangalore and you think of all these startups, and it's creating the kind of jobs it's creating. There's so much tech talent there. So why is it that unemployment is emerging as a concern? Can you take us through some of the investments that have come into the state, or some of the investments that the state has missed out on and have gone to Tamil Nadu instead?
Shweta, interestingly, you know, though this has been a concern, when you look at the data itself, Karnataka sort of emerged on top when it came to FDI. And recently, Foxconn has announced a significant investment in the state. In fact, we reported a few days ago that they have purchased land outside of Bengaluru. So hopefully the investments should start trickling in. But you're right when you say that, you know, much of the attention has been on Bengaluru, the startup ecosystem. But there is a clear divide when you look at the development metrics between North Karnataka and South Karnataka. Even within Bengaluru, a lot of the significant EV investments have gone to Tamil Nadu, Krishnagiri district in Hosur, which is barely an hour away from Bengaluru. So hopefully, you know, the new government, whichever government comes into power in whatever form, will prioritize investments in the state, because there's been a lot of regional competition. Telangana has introduced a single window policy. They've been attracting investments. Tamil Nadu, of course, has a history of a very strong automobile and mobile ecosystem. So that definitely has to be a priority. The fact that, you know, development doesn't get concentrated in one particular city. In fact, both the Congress and the BJP manifestos have a beyond Bengaluru agenda. I mean, BJP calls it beyond Bengaluru, but even if you look at the Congress manifesto, they've been speaking about development in the border regions, setting up industrial hubs outside of Bengaluru, specifically more in North Karnataka. So I think that has to be a priority, that, you know, all this doesn't get concentrated in one city. But interestingly, even with Bengaluru, Congress seems to be doing way better than BJP if you look at the trends right now.
Right. We have with us Mr. R.K. Mishra, the co-chairman of ASSOCHAM Karnataka, joining in. Mr. Mishra, how are you reading into the numbers? Because like we've been talking and discussing, Karnataka's economy and its development trajectory is enviable. Mr. Ruchi Sharma wrote a piece calling it the miracle economy, and yet you see a government that's getting voted out of power for what we see at the moment. So I want to get a sense from you on how are you reading into the numbers?
So I remember, you remember when we had a panel in Bangalore, and I said one thing. I said that people of Karnataka are to be blamed for poor governance in Karnataka because they don't give a clear mandate. Now, I'm very happy they seem like they are giving a clear mandate this time. Fortunately for Karnataka, industrial development and entrepreneurship runs despite the government. Now, if the government comes with a clear majority, if the government does not hamstrung by the defections and the resort politics, I think they can do much better. And Karnataka's genius is in attracting the best and the brightest from across the country as far as talent is concerned. And the companies from across the globe, more than 450 companies from the Fortune 500 are in Bangalore. Now, that is something which is unmatched across the globe anywhere. And also in that debate, somebody compared Bangalore with whether, startups are going to Mumbai and Delhi and all that. It's very good startups go wherever they go. Industrial development can happen in Chennai and Telangana as well. But Bangalore does not compete with either of the Indian states or the cities. It competes with the global best. It competes with Silicon Valley when it comes to IT and innovation. It competes with places in Shanghai and Germany when it comes to the EV and auto design and manufacturing. Now, of course, manufacturing has separate factors because the cost of land is very high in Karnataka, especially around Bangalore. Hence, most of the companies end up going to Tamil Nadu where the cost of land is much easier because they have acquired lakhs of acres of land, industrial land, and which they sell at a cheaper price. So Karnataka is a little bit hamstrung, but look at Foxconn. It has come. Our aerospace industry is doing very, very well. Now, border regions going to the North Karnataka, going to the Mysore Karnataka, industry does not develop in, in vacuum. Industry needs a social infrastructure, industry needs academic infrastructure, industry needs, parameters other than just the land and the power. And I think Tamil Nadu has 6 major cities. Karnataka has only 1 major city, which is Bangalore. Second city is, of course, Mysore.
That's right.
Hubli, Dharwad, maybe third. But beyond those cities, so I think Karnataka suffers from that. Otherwise, Karnataka, I think, will continue to lead. And I agree with Ruchir. Karnataka is a miracle economy and Karnataka will continue to lead. Luckily, there is a single-party government, hopefully. Even if it is not, Karnataka has done it from S.M. Krishna days and will continue to do that.
So what's your sense? Will it be a single-party government from what you see at the moment?
Looks like. I'm getting calls from both sides and I'm talking to them and they seem very confident. And I think, because I really am a big admirer of Mr. Modi and the BJP, what they have done. Another day I also told you about UP. Place like UP, Yogi is doing wonderful. 2-engine Sarkar wins only when both engines are firing. In case of Karnataka, state engine was not firing at all. In fact, there was no engine. This is a fact which everybody knew. And I worked with the chief ministers, 5-6 chief ministers across the state. And I think they also understood and agreed that things are not happening. I don't think it's one man's fault or anything. The party was divided. Party wasn't focusing on major issues. So I think all those things really matter. And I think, looks like, you never say never till the last vote is counted. But whatever it is, single party government will be best for the state, whichever party it is.
Mr. Mishra, do you
Right, of course.
Yeah, Shweta, if I can take a question.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Should we just put this down to Karnataka's record of, anti-incumbency, the fact that it never votes back the incumbent government, or, were there other factors? I remember you also said at our summit that Karnataka is possibly the most corrupt state in the country, and, that is something that Congress focused on during the course of the campaign. And I think there was also a sense of fatigue among voters, the fact that, we had three different governments in the last 5 years. There was no clear mandate. What do you think ultimately, led to the outcome or is leading to the early trends that we see today?
I think I also mentioned in that corruption, elections are very expensive. And a lot of corruption which happens through the tenure of a government gets spent during the elections. So if you don't have a clear mandate, if you have the buying and selling of the MLAs and all that, obviously there will be more corruption because corruption feeds to the electoral activity. So I think Karnataka voter is fed up. Karnataka, if the parties are bringing out the first page advertisement, clearly mentioning that which post is being sold for what, and other party is not countering it by bringing their own list that, okay, what is the corruption rate in this state? I have not seen any other state bringing those kind of advertisement in the national newspaper front page telling that BBMP commissioner is sale for this, BDA commissioner is sale for this. This is like really, and voters see around them. So I think corruption was a major issue, and corruption has been an issue in Karnataka very, very long. And second is the caste. Giving 2,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees from each party is not that one party gives. I think money is distributed by both the parties, and of course people vote whosoever they vote. So I don't know why they are giving the money. And people also take the money because they think it's our money which parties have looted and coming back to us, so what's wrong with it? It's almost like hopefully with clear mandate, 5-year corruption will come down and governance will win. It is really sad because this is a crown jewel of the country. And what we do here, we are competing with the best. And, not having such worst governance, Bangalore roads, I'm really sorry, but that is the manifestation of what is wrong with this state.
Right. So, Mr. Mishra, clearly this seems to be a verdict on the poor administrative capacity of the incumbent government. And like you pointed out, there was no double engine. There was no government working effectively in the state of Karnataka. I want to talk about the manifesto promises. And when you look at the manifesto promises, while I was going through them, I was honestly a little amazed and disappointed at how unimaginative they were, because they do look like manifesto promises of any underdeveloped state. They almost read like a manifesto promise for a Bengaluru state. I'll be very honest. You're talking about free power. You're talking about free food grains. You're talking about free bus rides, which is very well. You're talking about cash transfers to women. So and the promises seem to be somewhat similar. And then you're talking about reservations. You're talking about taking reservations up to nearly 70%, which is a huge number. Now, is that taking the narrative forward? Is this something you expect from a state which is the third largest economy in the country? It has grown at a phenomenal speed. So, one wonders, what is it that the people of Karnataka want, and also what is it that the political parties are thinking when they are drafting their manifestos?
So I think two very important points. First, please keep in mind, Bangalore is very rich. Bangalore is the economic engine of the state. But Karnataka as a state has a huge disparity. Go to North Karnataka. You will find the situation as bad as any other state, which is really we consider poor state. So Karnataka is a very unequal economical development has happened in Karnataka. And unfortunately, while you have the best and the brightest and the richest in and around Bangalore and maybe in Mysore and Hubli Dharwad, rest of the Karnataka is not that well developed. And of course, the coastal region, because of the, spices and coffee and everything is different. Cool. So Karnataka is actually a very unique state where free power, free bus also has an appeal where talking about space and technology and innovation and getting Foxconn to make Apple is also has equal appeal. Unfortunately, the percentage of people who are in Bangalore who run the economy of the state, both in terms of their numbers and their clout, is very, very low. Hence, what happens for Bangalore, what are the needs of the Bangalore, gets drowned out when it comes with a bigger manifesto, because the 20 odd seats in Bangalore, it is just 12%. Whereas Bangalore's contribution to Karnataka's economy is 60+%. So obviously, electorally and politically, Bangalore is a very, very marginal player in Karnataka politics. And Karnataka politics is decided by the regions, and those regions sometimes are decided by the caste. I mean, look at JDS continues to win in certain pockets, just because people still believe that Mr. Devegowda is a friend of farmers. Now, these are the kind of things which essentially very unique to Karnataka. And Bangalore, to us, is a big deal when we look at the national context, international context. But in the context of Karnataka politics, Bangalore is a very, very marginal player. Hence, it gets ignored.
So what do you think should be the priority of the new government, Mr. Mishra? Ease of doing business is one constant grouse that keeps emerging in different conversations. So as the new government gets ready to take power, take charge in the state of Karnataka, what according to you should be the key priorities?
Well, Congress has given 5 schemes, and those schemes are just rolling out the money, free. Now, to give free, you have to earn somewhere. So a sensible government, and I'm not going to debate because it is a verdict of the people. If the people want free in a democracy, they get free. But my worry is, from where will you give the free? So if you want to give free, please make sure that you earn that. And only from Bangalore you can earn. So if you ignore Bangalore, you will not be able to give free. Karnataka is the only state, I would say, among the large states, which has a surplus budget. We have a fantastic IAS officers who has been finance secretary across 6 administrations. So Karnataka has been a very fiscally prudent state. And my worry is with this kind of freebie, and maybe this is what Congress's agenda, that, okay, fine, by doing this I win in Karnataka, maybe this will help in 2024. They want to do it. But I think that will be a wrong thing. You give the freebie, Karnataka can afford to a certain extent, but please make sure you also make money. If you don't reduce the corruption, you don't become ease of doing business become better, and you don't improve infrastructure. We do not need actually anything. Bangalore is a unique place where you don't need anything from the government. You expect government just to give us pothole-free roads, correct? And traffic-free junctions. That's it. It's not too much. And by the way, it requires only 40-50,000 crores. That's it. Which they are giving.
Easier said than done. So hopefully we will have that. But Shweta, interestingly, the trends are out from the Election Commission for all 24 seats, and Congress is leading in 117, BJP is leading in 76, and JDS is at 24 and others 7. So Shweta and Mr. Mishra, is this a safe margin for the Congress? 117.
Well, we saw what happened last time. Unfortunately, in this state, I also told there, is not necessarily the largest party always makes the government. So I am not going to predict what our political parties and their MLAs do. As a well-wisher of the city, as a resident of the city, as someone who has given 20 years of my time working with 6 administration to improve the city's techno-economic governance and infrastructure, my only hope is horse trading does not happen. I would love any government to come with at least 120 MLAs, because those MLAs know, because otherwise just take away 4 MLAs and you are in minority. Okay? And that's really worrying, because I don't think other parties, BJP and JDS, will sit quiet. I mean, if they have only 4 MLAs and there are 3-4 independents which are coming, they'll say, why not try? And that same tamasha will repeat. So, of course, I have no particular favor with either Congress or BJP. My only favor is stable government.
Okay, let's go across to Haripriya. Haripriya, a quick mood check before we wind up this discussion.
Yeah. So Shweta, so far as we're seeing, the chants have continued non-stop. They're still as buoyant and as confident. The factors they think they have worked in their favor. One is the anti-incumbency. They say that people are tired of the BJP government over here. They also say that given that women voters, about 70, Karnataka obviously has a significant number of women voters, and they say that one of the promises in the manifesto, which is to give 2,000 rupees to the woman of every family, they think that will work in their favor as well, and that women vote independently. They also point out the corruption issue and say that they will bring about a better form of governance. So far, the mood here is buoyant. The chants are growing louder, they are going stronger, and all eyes are on the TV over here as they pay attention to the leads before they bring out the crackers once they get past the 125 to 130 mark.
Right. Thank you, Haripriya, for that. Women leading the way in Karnataka, very, very encouraging. We had an entire conversation around what do women voters of Karnataka want last week at the Policy Next event in Bengaluru. And thank you so much. It's been a very, very insightful conversation. May the best party win, and we do hope that Karnataka elects a government with a complete majority. Very quickly, I just want to go around to all my panelists. I'll begin with Revati. Revati, one wish from the new government, one priority area that you think that the new government should focus on?
I've been saying this: infrastructure, infrastructure, infrastructure. Focus on mobility. I think the rest of it will happen by itself.
Fascinating. Chandra, your wish list as a Bangalorean.
The same thing, Shweta. I completely agree with Mr. Mishra that Bengaluru gets disproportionate attention, whereas there should be more focus on the northern parts of Karnataka as well. But I think the fact that the city contributes to over 60% of the state's economy, we shouldn't be shortchanged. We deserve better infrastructure.
And hold BBMP elections very fast.
All right,
hold
such
the
basic,
BBMP elections. The state should not be running the city.
Wow. Okay, one would think that it's Bangalore, Silicon Valley of the country, such an economically powerful state. Foxconn has come and set shop there. And then what are the issues? The ground issues we're talking about is potholes. We're talking about more buses. We're talking about municipal elections to be held. So this just shows that, you cannot, ultimately it comes down to basic quality of life, ease of living. I'm going to go over to my colleague Siddharth. Siddharth, I want you to wear your economic journalist hat and tell us the one thing that you think that the new government should not do, which could be fiscally disastrous for the state.
Well, as a citizen, I would expect that any party which is elected should fulfill its promises. My fear is, irrespective of the party which comes to power, BJP, Congress, maybe if JDS is a kingmaker, my fear is that perhaps the costs of these promises might be a bit too much, and from a fiscally spectacular state, Karnataka could perhaps weaken. And that, while that may work in the near term for the next couple of years, that's not good news. That may not be good news for the future. Okay,
well, look, long term, that's Siddharth's message. And Mr. Mishra, you have the last word on this.
Well, I completely agree with our fellow panelists. Good governance, infrastructure, and fiscal prudence. Very, very important. And I agree with Revati. BBMP elections are long overdue. We have three-tier governance structure in our constitution, and it should be respected. And political parties, now that the BJP has lost the election, or if it loses the election, I'm sure Congress will use this opportunity to hold the BBMP elections soon, so that they can maybe encash. But unfortunately, it looks like Bangalore Congress is not doing so well. So I'm not very hopeful whether they are going to the BBMP election fast enough or not.
Right. Well, as a citizen of India, I do hope that while the manifestos, both parties, all the three parties actually are promising a host of freebies, I do hope that the conversation and the narrative moves beyond freebie politics. Yes, people need support at the bottom of the pyramid, but the answer to that does not lie in cash doles, and that's what the Congress and the BJP have promised. Though I have to concede that the BJP's promises are a little more. They're not handing cash directly. They're doing it in a more indirect manner. The Congress party is looking at cash, giving out cash in a very straightforward way, 2,000 rupees to be deposited in the accounts of women, which is a very empowering move for women. But access to opportunities, ease of transport, ease to move around, safety, I think these are all very, very important issues that actually shape the economics and the empowerment of a city or of a state. So we do hope that whichever party it is comes with a strong majority and Karnataka continues to grow and prosper. Thank you so much for tuning in, and a big thank you to all our panelists. Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shweta.